Good morning. This is Leo Kane with Beryl Engineering and Inspection. I'm here with Danielle Evans, and we are bringing you this hour's exciting discussion on...
We're not talking about vacuums.
Oh, come on. The outline. Katrina gave us a beautiful outline about vacuum cleaners. We're going to be talking about 3 different models of vacuum cleaners and how it can be compared to the housing market. And I think we should run with it.
I think we can.
You think you can? But what we can't run with are these market stats. Why don't we
the
dive
numbers.
right in?
The numbers are horrendous.
Well, I have to say, this might be the first time we've actually done a show right before Christmas and right before New Year's. So we've never really seen these numbers. We never really talked about these numbers, but they're not surprising.
To me, they're not hugely surprising, but I think they're about ready to change.
Well, of course, anything has to change. I mean, the number of new listings is 381. I mean...
That's not enough.
That's not sustainable in any market. But you have to think, who's really listing houses the week between Christmas and New Year's?
Absolutely. Very few. However, we do have that one random on Christmas Day that calls for an order.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of weird. I mean, listing stuff between Christmas and New Year's is fine. It's kind of hard to find people who are working. It's kind of hard to find, like, traffic was beautiful this morning. We don't even need Pat George anymore, given the weather and the traffic, because there is no traffic. And I would say that, but as I was heading north on I-275, southbound, there was a lane closure due to an accident, probably around, where was that? Sly?
Ish.
Bush?
Yeah.
Yeah. So there was that major accident that was shutting down a lane of the highway, but it was Hillsborough. So heading north, though, there was no traffic. I got here in record time. Everything's record because no one's on the road.
Yeah, unless you go up to Orlando. Then it's a whole different ballgame.
Oh, a whole different ballgame. I mean, They don't even have a Major League ball team. It's
but
basketball.
They have Mickey and Minnie, though.
Yeah.
The vacations are happening.
It's their busiest week of the year.
It is, and it's horrendous up in Orlando.
Yes.
I was up there, and the traffic, it took me twice as long to get home.
Oh, I believe it. My wife actually wanted to check out Disney Village tomorrow, or Disney Marketplace, or where it is. Their shopping
The Disney
area.
Springs, yeah.
Yeah, and I'm like, no, you couldn't pay me enough money to go there this time of the year. It's the busiest time of the year. Like, but they'll all be in the theme parks. I'm like, yeah, until they get turned away because the parks are at capacity. Then they end up at the marketplace.
Yes, absolutely.
So continuing the new listings, we had 381 new listings. So there were 381 people working this week.
Yeah.
And then price decreases was 543. So people are thinking they can get a last-minute price decrease in. Joke's on them. 618 sold. Now that doesn't surprise me because people are still trying to get stuff done before the end of the year.
Absolutely.
And from everything that's been on the market, there are 511 that are pending. So pending is substantially higher than the new listings.
The pending is going to shift. You're going to see that change because we're seeing a lot of pending offers. They're collapsing at the appraisal process.
Oh, do explain that. I mean, you are an appraiser, so what do you mean by collapsing at the appraiser process?
Well, right now we have properties that are listed for $480,000, and they're not even worth $350,000.
So what's happening? Someone's actually putting an offer in around $480,000, or they're putting their offer in at like $460,000, $420,000?
There's a lot of stuff going on. From some sellers are trying to stall sales because of divorces. Some are in tax and bankruptcy situations, so that's stalling some of the closings. But these high listings, they make no sense on the market. They don't belong there, and until they adjust down, when the appraiser comes out and the appraiser's breaking everybody's dreams when they realize the house isn't worth it. I mean, who's going to spend that kind of money up in Spring Hill?
No, I mean...
And that's what they're doing. Yeah.
So, I mean, we should do a deep dive into that. I mean, like we talk a lot about market stats here on the show, and you deal in the world of comps.
Comps are from the past.
And market stats are predicting the future.
Yeah. So they're ever changing, and sometimes they don't make sense. Sometimes
the comps don't make sense?
Sometimes the comps, when a property closes, people forget about seller concessions. If the seller is giving concessions, it might very well close for $360,000, but when the appraiser adjusts for it, it's closed at $345,000.
So what are seller concessions, like popcorn and hot dogs?
No, it's when the seller offers $5,000 towards the buyer's closing costs. That's dollar for dollar taken off the sales price.
Oh, that is?
Yeah, that's cash equivalency. And down here in Florida, it's really important that we actually adjust for that, because in the new construction homes, these builders can help with interest rates because they're their own banks. However, when they offer $30,000 in closing costs, That's money being exchanged.
That is true.
And somebody buying a house for cash is the one that doesn't win. They're the ones that get to the closing table and they're like, wait a minute, the appraisal's $30,000 less. How come everybody else in the neighborhood bought for the same price? Well, look at the sale. Look at what's behind the sale. They were given $30,000 to close.
Because they went with the
Because
company
they
store.
went with that lender.
I mean, I had something similar when I bought my car. It was like the last 2 cars I bought for the company, literally, I had to get financing on the car. I had to pay $500 to have financing on the car to pay the car off to get like $4,000 or $5,000 off sticker.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't really want the financing, so I'll just do this and just pay it off. But it's just a little ridiculous that I had to go through all these. I had to make people do a whole bunch of extra work for nothing.
For nothing.
Because there was no pre-penalty for paying off sooner.
Yeah.
So you're telling me it would be in their interest in the housing market to do something similar if they're going to pay cash?
Well, we're seeing that because we have people coming from out of state and using cash, and then they're trying to refinance right behind it. Remember, comps are from the past, and
Yeah.
our market is fluctuating. It's not necessarily declining. The sales are just changing, ever changing. And you have people in the market that just need to get out, and they're dropping for the bottom. There's nothing wrong with the house. It's equivalent to the house that sold for top dollar. They need time on their side, so they're lowering the price.
So time on their side lowers the price. They get less money. So, I mean, are we seeing? I mean, we talk a lot about the numbers, the new listings, the price decreases. The price decreases are always twice the size of new listings recently. So are we seeing it where if you wait 2 or 3 months, you're actually not going to be able to sell your house for as much as you're currently selling it today?
Not necessarily. It just depends on the market. I mean, like right here in Starkey Ranch or in Connerton, these big brand new developments, it's a rolling wave. The comps that we're seeing, the comps from 12 months ago and today are the same, and the ones in the middle dropped. When the interest rate went up, the builders dropped. Well, now the builders are right back up to where they were before the interest. And so new construction is booming right now. That's where all the action
up in
is.
this area, yeah.
It's all of Tampa Bay. I cover 11 counties. I'm going all the way as, the villages.
I don't think I can name 11 counties.
Oh, I could. And Sarasota's on fire right now. They can't find enough appraisers to work down there.
Well, I mean, Sarasota was hit pretty hard with Hurricane Ian and Nicole and Ideala. So, I mean, is this just
Naples
rebuilds?
has moved to Sarasota.
true.
Naples isn't moving back to Naples.
No.
And so a lot of the ultra wealthy in Naples are building right now in Venice, Sarasota, Manatee and Sarasota County. And Anna Marie Island, if you've been out there lately,
Haven't been out there lately.
completely been rebuilt since the last time it flooded. And there's massive new construction mansions going up. So where they're rebuilding, Naples is not.
So what's happening down in Naples right now?
It's still out in the ocean. There's a good portion of the barrier island and the key that never came back.
Oh wow! I thought the hit was in Fort Myers, which would have been Captiva, Sanibel.
It was Naples, like really the corner, the very tip. Naples is tiny to begin with. What's on the ocean, that little corner. I mean, there was a whole strip that it went out into the ocean, and the ocean took it, and it never came back.
That's crazy. Yeah, I mean, I've been in other places that the landscaping has changed. Islands became splits, things of that nature, because of these massive storms with the erosion. And you notice that too, like after a storm goes through, there's some municipalities will release a beach renourishment contract.
Yeah.
That just means you're importing sand from somewhere.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm from Cape Cod, Massachusetts, where it's completely normal. And, in Boston, they shovel the snow. In Cape Cod, they shovel the sand. They put the sand back in the ocean. And so
awesome.
the plows are coming down the street, and they're plowing it back into the ocean because that's where it belongs.
So can we take that sand and can we bring it down to
Absolutely
truck it to
not.
Florida?
Massachusetts won't let you touch their sand. Their
Okay.
sand is protected. We have whales.
We protect our chickens in Ybor City.
I know.
We don't protect our sand, though.
No,
We
we,
do
should protect our sand in the island keys and the all of the barrier island, all of our sea turtles. We should be protecting our sand as much as we protect those sea turtles.
I can believe that. It was just funny in my mind. I'm imagining some children, like between the ages of 5 and 8, with a bucket, building a sandcastle, and the police raid coming in to shut them down. You can't build this here.
Well, in Massachusetts, you can't leave this. You can't leave with shells. You can't go pick shells on and bring them home with you. They're supposed to be left there.
Yeah, because eventually the shells will break down and turn into
Sand.
sand.
Yep. And so they don't want you, like people used to take out, do memorials and spread ashes. That's actually illegal.
But that would be putting sand back in the...
I know. Go figure.
Yeah. So where are you supposed to pour your ashes out?
They don't care. Just don't do it on their ocean. Don't do it on their seashore. They protect their seashore hardcore. We should down here. We don't do enough.
Well, what you're supposed to do is you're supposed to let the ashes sit for a certain amount of time so it neutralizes and becomes good fertilizer.
Potting soil. Yeah, it
potting
becomes
soil.
potting
You have
soil.
to let it sit for a while, and then you're supposed to plant a tree using those ashes, continuing the circle of life.
That's what. For now on, that's what I'm doing.
That's what they tell you to do when you get your pet for one of the organizations and you have it cremated. Some people turn their pet into a diamond.
Oh no, I don't know.
Speaking of which, we're in the holiday season. Do you know what my pet? Because I have a corgi. Do you know what my pet's favorite song is this time?
No.
Feliz Navidad.
Oh my God. I can't with you.
What?
Feliz Navidad.
Well, thank you.
There you have it.
There's your dad joke. And coming up in the hour, I might do my top 10 dad jokes of the year, depending if we run out of content. So you better make sure we don't run out of content.
Well, we can't run out of content comparing a vacuum to a house.
Oh, I know. I love this show outline.
What was Katrina thinking leaving this one for us?
Well, I mean, she's not here on the air right now because she's going to do some cleanup down in her other house. And
Yeah, she might need a vacuum.
I think she needs more than a vacuum. I mean, it's an island that got flooded, but maybe she had vacuum on the mind.
Maybe.
But looking at the last week of market stats, and we have not looked at the last week of market stats in a long time for the last week of the year. New listings, dismal, but with 3 possible rate decreases coming in the near future.
Can't wait.
We're going to see a spike.
Yep.
Because everyone has this really short memory. They forget about the 15-plus rate increases back to back.
Yep.
It's that 1 or 2 decreases and a spending fury comes.
Absolutely.
Can't wait. But
stimulate the market.
if you have any questions at all, or you're working this week, like we are, 813-377-2775. That's 813-377-2775. What you can do is you can text, call, chat with us. If you ever actually wanted to reach one of us, you have the great opportunity to, because Danielle and I are the only 2 people in Land O'Lakes that are working. Everything else is closed for the holidays. Everyone else is leaving, going to work, leaving soon, but we'll be right back. We're not going anywhere. Welcome home. This is Leo Kane with Beryl Engineering and Inspection. After hearing that phone number 7 times, I have to say 813-377-2775. Call or text us. That way you forgot the other number. And I've always wondered about, you repeat all these numbers. Do people actually write numbers down while they're driving on the road?
Who knows?
Do they actually sit in their office and say, I'm going to write this number down from this commercial and call now? Do they actually call now?
I think they call if you give something away.
Yeah, that's true. Speaking of giving stuff away, or calling, or buying now, this is a great time to introduce the vacuum cleaner.
Oh, God.
So the purpose of today's show, it's the real estate market. We're comparing comps versus stats with Danielle Evans, who is an official show partner. And to give you a little background on Danielle, here's Danielle Evans to tell you more about Danielle.
I've been an appraiser for 20 years, been on the show here for 10. And the difference between comps and...
No, we have to spend hours talking.
Oh,
Don't just dive right in.
I can't.
You have to. Tell us more about appraisers. So I think that, in my mind, appraisers are like, they're mystery people hired by the bank. You don't know who they are. They show up. They tell you what your property's worth, and then they disappear.
And you only hear about us when we're breaking people's dreams, and they're really mad at us. Yeah, it depends. When the market's hot and heavy, we're loved, and when the market's slow and things aren't going great, we're the first to be blamed. But we actually assess risk on condition. We place a value on a home based on how well you take care of it.
And I mean, basically, if you think about it, when you're assessing risk, you're protecting the interest of the bank.
Absolutely. We're hired by the bank.
Yeah.
The person that actually pays for the appraisal doesn't even have rights to the appraisal. They can't call my office and get a copy of it.
Most banks will give you the appraiser, though.
It has to go from the bank.
Yeah.
Federal law requires it. I cannot physically give. If Joe Schmo calls me and says, I want an appraisal, and he orders it privately, great. Then that's between him and I. But if there's a bank involved, the bank owns the rights. They're the intended user to the appraisal. And if they say I'm not allowed to give it to the homeowner, I'm not allowed to give it to the homeowner.
So if I'm a cash buyer, then I don't need an appraisal.
You do not need an appraisal, but you should always get an appraisal.
Well, yeah, because if you're your own bank, you should assess your own risk.
And no matter what, we're there to assess risk and the market value. It's not just about providing the market value, the dollar figure. We analyze everything. We fact find everything, and everything in the report's factual. It's 100%. If you're reading an MLS listing, none of that's fact checked. It's somebody's opinion. We go and take all those opinions and fact check them all and make sure the right ones are in the report.
Make sure it has a pool, make sure it has a fence, make sure it has a 30-year-old oak tree.
Or an upstairs. Later today, I'm going to a house for Katrina. The public records has no upstairs. It's a 2-story home.
Oh, so is that an addition unpermitted, or is that
no,
an
the
error
house was built this way, and they put in the wrong plans. The builder put in the wrong plans. Now, for the homeowner, he's being taxed on 2,600 square feet of heated living area. And he has 3,500 square feet of heated living area.
That's saucy.
So there's going to be, they have to really protect the seller in this situation and the buyer. They need to verify, find out exactly how big that house is. And now they have to warn the person coming in, this is the mess you get to clean up.
So how do you clean a mess like that?
You let it go. Because people are being taxed on it. You let it go. You let the county. It's the county's. At the end of the day, as long as the agent and the seller are disclosing the true factual size of the home, that's why they're having me go there and measure it, then that they're in there. They don't need to go to the county and have the taxes reset. They can just keep selling this property like it's a 2,600 square foot home.
But that just did. If I was selling a 2,600 square foot home versus a 3,400 square foot home, I think I would get more money for the bigger home.
They're selling a 34 square foot home no matter how you slice it. They're going to say in the MLS listing there's a discrepancy in the public records. The public records is wrong, leaving it up to the buyer to decide what they want. The seller, he doesn't want to play with that tax problem, so he's going to throw it on to the new buyer. The buyer is going to say the same thing, and this thing's going to go undetected by the county probably for its lifetime.
So I thought that once you have this discrepancy, like 2,800 versus 3,400, an extra bedroom, bathroom, all those things, you can't appraise at the higher value because your property records don't show.
Nope. You just have to get out there and prove that the public records are wrong. Normally, we consider public records to be factual, but if other data in the field shows that it's not factual, then it's kicked out. The second an appraiser measures that house,
Nice.
public records is no longer factual, and we get to throw that section of public records out, and we supersede, and then a survey supersedes. And so there's your factual data. The survey and the appraiser coming out and measuring it now supersedes public records.
So if you can do that, why would you ever need to fix, like if I had...
That's why we won't fix it with the county.
Yeah, if I had an unpermitted bedroom bathroom addition on the back of the home, added 450 square feet, added a bathroom, a bedroom, why would I want to...
Raise the taxes is all it's going to do.
So it won't. So because I've always heard that if it's not permitted, then, or it's like your scenario is a little different because it was built that way and it was just recorded wrong. But I'm talking like if you did that unpermitted addition, there's a lot of pressure to make it real and permitted.
Then that has to do with the foundation it's sitting on. A lot of these people take Florida rooms, the old Florida rooms that are on a patio, and think, oh, I can just make this a bedroom. Well, that's not on a foundation. That's on a slab. That's on a thin patio. And so a lot of people don't realize the flood restrictions, the 50% rule, the FEMA 50% rule.
Technical Bulletin 8, basically, if you put more than 50% of the appraised value into construction on your home, you have to abide by new floodplain management, which is even more important now that the new Florida Building Code goes into effect at midnight tonight.
And a lot of these people that are flooded up in the north, it's really going to affect them rebuilding. They'll be out there red tagging a lot of places that last week they wouldn't.
So the other thing to think about when I talk about the FEMA 50 rule or FEMA Technical Bulletin 8 is it's a federal rule. So anywhere in a flood zone that I got a weird echo on that, where you're building and you're doing more than 50% of the cost of the building value into improvements, you have to abide by it. So this is a federal thing. This isn't
And then
just
they're
Florida.
only allotted 5 years, right? For 5 years, they have that amount that they can use. Like, there's a lot of restrictions that are playing, and there's a lot changing right now. Right now, the values of homes are very, very high, so it's not really affecting. But in the housing crisis, there was houses that had to be torn down because they weren't worth enough to improve.
Well, we get that a lot when like mobile homes, like we're doing first party property claims for insurance companies or for homeowners, and the mobile home is damaged by a storm, shifted off a foundation, roof and siding. I'm like, by the time you take roof, siding, and some foundation work, I mean, you're over 50% of the cost of the mobile home.
Yes, absolutely.
Because those things just depreciate.
Yeah, and we're seeing, Hillsborough County's allowing the accessory dwelling units, the mini houses in the backyard. I don't know how that's going to affect with the 50% rule, and I don't know how it's going to affect when it starts flooding again.
So the way it would work is each building would be its own subject to.
Yeah.
So the little house in the back, 50% of its value versus the main house. So if you're improving an ADU, accessory dwelling unit, in the rear of your property, and you go over 50% of the value of your house, it doesn't matter because it's a separate building.
You're done. Yeah.
It's a separate building. You're good. You're good to go.
Yeah.
You just have to make sure the accessory dwelling unit meets the floodplain management rules.
And that's where they're gonna run into problems. They're gonna be out on stilts. There's gonna be a mini house on stilts in the backyard.
Yeah,
and the
pretty
house
much.
is on the ground.
Yeah, I can imagine
can
that.
see it
I can
now.
just see that now because the little house has to abide by these standards.
Yes.
Because a lot of times you end up with, in some of the older neighborhoods, your accessory dwelling unit is basically taking a garage and converting it. And I did the same thing on my property.
But now they want it above the garage.
Oh, yeah, they want it above the garage because they want the garage to remain. So you end up with these monstrosities, really. You have a beautiful, historic one-floor unit in the front, and then you have a two-story, boxy,
Almost modern looking
thing in the back.
And then zero lot lines. Everything's
course.
right on the lot line. Your 6,000 square foot lot is packed. No room for the vacuum, that's for
Do
sure.
those appraise well?
Yes.
That's why they do it.
Yeah, and it's gonna be a game changer for Hillsborough County. St. Pete got rid of home and income. Remember back in the day when they had home and income? That was an actual zoning.
I don't remember home and income.
And
What's home and income?
Home and income was where the front of the house, the front house was single family, and it was just an accessory dwelling unit in the back.
Yeah.
And they called it home and income. They had loans that fit those homes.
Never
Down
heard
in
of
St.
that.
Pete, they were very predominant, and they got rid of the zoning, and now they're just single family with an accessory dwelling unit.
Oh. But so, yeah, home and income sounds like a Bed Bath & Beyond thing.
It's how you can live in the
I
front
mean,
and
the
have the back
Airbnb
pay
thing.
for
It's
it.
Airbnb at Bed Bath & Beyond.
Yeah.
They're all confused. Does that store even exist anymore?
Yes.
Okay. I just got free advertising. I rue the day I give companies free advertising that I don't know is still in existence.
You're funny.
Well, thank you. And if you want to learn more about appraising, 813-377-2775. And if you want to become an appraiser, 813-377-2775. Danielle will talk you out of it.
I will not. I teach appraising.
She teaches appraising. We'll talk more about that. And we will get more into the vacuum cleaner that I have been hinting at for the past 30 minutes, because this is one nice vacuum cleaner model.
It's got to be
It's got to be.
mansion quality.
Oh, yeah. It's going to be big, fat. It's going to have 10,000 BTUs. We'll be right back. Don't go anywhere. Welcome home. This is Leo Kane with Beryl Engineering and Inspection, and now we're going to dive into the meat and potatoes, the bread and butter, the salad and anchovies of the difference between market stats versus comps. And to do so, I need to talk to you about vacuum cleaners, because let's just give this, just hear me out here. How many people in their lifetime is going to buy a house?
I don't know. Would you buy a vacuum more than a house?
No. Compare that to the number of people who are going to buy a vacuum cleaner. I can't remember the last time I bought a vacuum cleaner, looked up the pricing on a vacuum cleaner, or even thought about buying a vacuum cleaner.
It's been 10 years for me.
And when's the last time you bought a house?
Last year. I've bought more houses in 10 years than I've bought vacuums.
Now, are we fair barometers for this analogy? Because maybe people out there buy vacuums on a more regular basis.
I buy a Shark. It lasts forever. You know, if it breaks, you send it back. They send you a new one.
Well, I guess we're now talking about that. But anyway, we're gonna compare market stats versus comps using the vacuum cleaner analogy. So when you go to big box realtor or realtor, what is the name of a retail store?
Yeah.
To buy a vacuum, you stand in front of options on the shelf and start comparing features and evaluating prices. You look for a machine that will ultimately suit your specific needs. A person standing next to them is likely doing similar calculus, but coming up with a different purchase based on individual needs. A pet owner, for example, may require certain tools and features that a person without pets doesn't need. An older person may need a lighter machine, which could cost more, whereas a young college student doesn't mind a cheaper, bulkier model and probably needs something with advanced technology to get like vomit off of carpet. The one thing that unites every consumer in the market for a vacuum is that they are now in the market for a vacuum. So value is placed on aspects of each machine based on their specific needs. What matters to one person may not matter to another. That's why people are willing to pay different prices based on the different features that matter to them. And that is the market stats.
But there's so many people in this world that buy houses to play Monopoly. I disagree. We have people right now buying brand new construction homes, and they will live in it for 6 months and sell it, and they're only in it for the investment
Of the prices going up in the course of that 6 months.
They put a pool in and leave. They buy the house, bottom barrel. They have a handyman come in and do some decorative wall art. They throw some flashy countertops in, throw a pool in the backyard. Brand spanking new house is now, they've got time on their hands. They got a buyer coming in that doesn't want to wait to have it built.
Yeah.
Now they've got one with a pool, and the builder doesn't even offer a pool.
Pools aren't cheap nowadays. They're like $80,000.
Oh, we can't see them under 135 right now.
135,000.
With the cage and the
pavers, and everything.
pavers.
That's expensive.
We're talking 135 to 165 in new construction. If the builder is doing it, you plan on 165 easily.
For a pool.
Yeah.
I'd rather just join the Y.
But for example, in new construction communities like Lennar doesn't offer a pool. So you can buy a house from Lennar in their great interest rate because they're the bank, and so you're in the 5.5% interest rate. You buy a house for $500,000. They don't offer pools. So now there's 300 homes in the neighborhood, and only 8 of them have pools.
Oh.
Well, what does that make the pool home? Now you add the pool for $135. Put the house back on the market for $850. You'll get it.
So in that example, then
They make $100,000 overnight.
The appraised value will go up enough to justify the installation of a pool?
Absolutely.
Because I thought you don't get your dollar for dollar.
In specific developments, you do.
So that would be, now that we're looking at our vacuums again for comps, basically the features are compared. Does this house have a pool? Does this vacuum have a carpet scrubber? Any major appliance upgrades? Does the vacuum cleaner have a long hose to get behind couches? And all of these features can add a perceived value to the home or your vacuum, depending on the buyers are willing to pay more for them.
I mean, I can see that point, but it's still like in the big grand scheme of things, there are a lot of people that find a home much more of an investment than a vacuum.
Well, it just depends how many pets you have that shed.
I mean, I've never been able to resell a vacuum.
You have not been on eBay lately, have
I
you?
know, and I'm not a yard sailor. Like, I'm not one.
You can find
I
vacuums.
toss, I purge.
That's true. And the best way to purge is to fill up your vacuum and then throw the whole vacuum out instead of emptying it.
There you go.
So I guess that brings up an interesting point. See, if you have a subset community, like this big box builder, and they have 300 homes and only 6 of them have pools, those 6 homes with pools are automatically going to be more valuable.
Absolutely.
Because some people think they want a pool.
And some people think they can't get a pool, which they can't. Like, it's going to take 18 months to build a house. It's going to take another 6 to 8 months to get the pool put in. Some people just don't want that. They'd rather pay for that time than wait that time.
That's true.
So there are heavy investors, and these are college students that are on the smarter side. They're probably on their 6th year of college by this point, but they're doctors. They're going to be doctors. They're going to be lawyers.
Do you think they own a vacuum?
Oh, they barely live in their house. They have zero furniture, and all they do is move into these new constructions. They build them, move into them, live in them until the next one's built, and then move. And that's how they're building their generational wealth, is flipping new constructions.
So this goes back to Adam Smith economics then. It's supply and demand. You have the number of houses plus, and you compare that to the number of buyers, then you can see what the perceived value would be.
Yeah, and there's a lot of people right now that, the insurance costs and the taxes, Pinellas County is hurting bad. And we are seeing the migration coming from the coastal areas, coming up into Pasco and up in Zephyr Hills and Dade City. It's going to be new Tampa in no time. And people don't even realize that the reason why people are pushing is the new construction homes are far less to insure.
Oh, yeah.
They're built, it's $1,000 to insure a brand new fortress. And I'm in a townhouse that's 20 years old paying $3,500.
Yeah, insurance prices they keep going up and up. And we were hoping to have Adam on the show today to talk about it, but due to the fact that he's so short-staffed and he's trying to get so much done before the 31st,
And insurance is really pushing people away from the water.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I mean, on top of having to have your house insured, you have mandatory flood insurance. Flood insurance is going up. Home insurance is going up. It's beginning to the point where you have a second mortgage just to cover taxes and insurance.
Yeah, and then people are really starting to rent out portions of their homes, and now you see why. They're trying to cover those.
But even that, I mean, there's a lot of crackdown on these vacation-type rentals, restrictions, and then the market just got flooded with them. So, I mean, you're basically in competition with all of your neighbors, and it drove the price of the rental units down. So they tried to do simple things like you have a price to rent the unit, but then you have a separate cleaning fee on top of it, and then you have another fee. So they're playing that game where you look at that. It used to be cheaper to do that than a hotel, and now it's cheaper to do a hotel.
Now it's cheaper to do a hotel. You can go to a hotel for $99 and it's done. And where you can go to Airbnb, and like you said, you're nickeled and dimed for 3 weeks afterwards, and it cost you $165.
Yeah, for the same thing.
For the same thing.
But if you're going to do an extended stay, like if you're going to do 4+ days, that's when you start looking at the vacation rental versus the... Because
of the kitchen, because of the accessibility and what you can do with it.
You pay the same cleaning fee if you're there for a day, or you're there for a week. If you're there for a month, I think they clean it periodically. I mean, I like the convenience of the hotel where you get the little soaps, you can get the refreshes. I don't have to deal with someone's neighborhood. I don't have to deal with... We did one in St. Augustine. Loved the unit, but if our car was parked 1 inch too far to the left, the neighbors would call the police.
Oh my gosh.
And we weren't allowed to have strings or lines to know where that line was. So it was crazy. I'm like, who wants to do this?
Yeah.
Just check me into a hotel.
Absolutely.
So when talking about Dade City, we got to go back to the economic trends. So if we have an increase in inventory and a decrease in buyers, that's going to make your lower median sales price.
I don't really think we have a drastic drop in buyers. We have buyers that want to buy, cannot find a loan structure, and they're wandering in circles, and they land on these new construction and realize I can get a 5.5% interest rate from this builder. But in the real world, to buy an existing house, I'm going to pay 8.25.
So basically, now we've created the reverse scenario. We have a decrease in active inventory because we're looking at smaller subdivisions compared to every house in the market. And we have an increase in buyers.
I wish this would add all of new construction to it. That's the one thing. The builders, they'll only put 10 sales in a development on MLS. All the rest, they sell themselves. They don't need to list them on MLS. And so we don't necessarily have all the data for the new constructions like we should. And if you could see, new construction is going wild.
And then
it's going wild.
There's a lot of fake money in new construction, and fake money is what I'm talking about. Like if I sell something for $200, and that's how much money I'm actually going to sell it, but I list it for $250 and give you $50 discount to use my ancillary services, I'm not actually offering a discount. I'm still selling it at $200, but I'm saying I'm selling it for $250.
Yeah.
And it forces people to use their mortgage people, their real estate agents, their company store. It forces you into that, because if you're going to show up with a wad of cash to buy this house, I guess you're going to pay the $250.
Yeah.
But you're not going to appraise it to $250 if everything else is really selling at $200. Yeah. Can you explain that?
It's the cash equivalency for that incentive, and so everybody in the market is paying $250 in essence, and the $50,000 in incentives is taken right off. It's right off by every appraiser, especially down here in Florida. In other states, maybe not, but Fannie Mae has really cracked down on appraisers to every dollar for dollar cash equivalency. It's like you said, you're using their services because they're offering a discount. You couldn't get that price if you didn't go with them. And we see cash buyers being forced in order to get the incentive, like you with the car. They have to get a small mortgage. And we see these appraisals come across our desk, and they're buying the house for $540,000, and their down payment is $525,000. And they have the tiniest little mortgage on it, and they're keeping it there just to get that $50,000 incentive. Because if they paid cash, they wouldn't get it.
Well, sometimes you want to have a small mortgage on an investment property because adding a layer of a bank, adding a layer of someone else actually owns a piece of the property is actually it's another type of insurance.
It insures, yeah.
Yeah, because if you own your property outright, you can be more subject to some kind of title fraud or someone filing paperwork to steal your home from you. Whereas if there's a bank attached to it,
nobody's really messing with you. The bank's watching for you. Yeah, absolutely.
Because there's a lot of title fraud. And I know we had a title agent on here about a month ago talking specifically about title fraud.
It's no joke.
But if you have any questions about where to find new construction, make sure you hit Katrina up at 813-377-2775. That's 813-377-2775. When we come back from the break, I will be talking more about vacuum cleaners because I think there's more vacuum cleaners in this show outline. Maybe we'll be comparing the short stubby model to the tall one that does the suction with the water spray spritz. I don't know anything about vacuums.
Me neither. I have a house cleaner.
I have a house cleaner too. My little dachshund walks around and just licks the floor.
That was a corgi. You have a corgi and
I have a corgi and a dachshund. We like small.
You like them short and long.
Short, long, and a very, very awkward shaped dogs. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Welcome home. This is Leo Kane with Beryl Engineering and Inspection, making true on one of my promises earlier in the hour. So, Pat, are you there?
Yes.
So, how do you wash your hands over the holiday?
How do I wash my hands? I put water, I put soap, and I sing happy birthday.
Yeah, I don't. I use sanitizer.
Sanitizer.
And you really did. So, okay. Two more questions about Santa. Why is Santa afraid of getting stuck in a chimney?
Why?
He has claustrophobia.
Claustrophobia.
And the last one is, what do you call a man clapping on Christmas Day?
I don't know.
Santa Claus.
Santa Claus.
That's why you keep me around. That would round out my top 3 favorite dad jokes of the holiday season, minus the one from earlier in the hour, which was actually a New Year's Eve joke.
Oh, I missed it. I missed that it was New Year's Eve and not Christmas.
Oh, it's the Feliz Navidad.
That's right. Yeah.
Because Feliz Navidad is about
New
Year's. So now you are armed, my listening audience. Smash like and subscribe. You are armed with 4 great dad jokes to use in the next 48 hours. And if you're the one of 3 people in the office today and you happen to be listening to the show, use one of these at the water cooler and then text the word water cooler to 813-377-2775. And after you text the word water cooler, let us know how the joke went over.
I have a dad joke. Little Johnny heard a noise coming parents' bedroom.
Okay.
No,
Is that the punchline?
no, I can't tell that one. I just rolled.
You have to dump button your own joke? Oh my.
Thank God it's the last show of the year.
So let's dive really brief into the meat and potatoes of comps versus market stats, because we've danced around this for an hour, and like I think comps are like a way to look backwards in time.
Yeah, they are.
And the market stats are what can predict the future.
Absolutely.
But if I'm looking at the market stats, I don't really care about individuality. I'm more like the overall, the averages, the what's happening.
Yeah.
But comps is going to zero me in on very specific features.
Yeah, and if when you're looking up in MLS, if you look up everything just as sold, and then you just look up everything that's active and everything that's pending, you'll have two totally different situations going on. So there is, comps are from the past, but they're also what did it really sell for, and the trends are predictions. Mm-hmm. That's all they are. And the market, the interest rate, and politics can change that on a flash.
And people have a very short memory.
Yeah, I
Very
mean
short.
the housing crisis happened overnight, but everybody seems to think that it was graduated. Like it gradually happened. It didn't gradually happen. Within less than 2 months, the Tampa Bay area was underwater, and it happened swift and like a domino effect.
And then COVID came about, and then COVID also had a drastic impact to our housing market. No one remembers that.
I thought it was going to go the other way. I thought everybody has no job. Who's going to who's going to qualify for a mortgage if you need to have your job for 2 years? How? And then they just started writing over the rules because of the pandemic. And I'm still waiting for that mistake to show in the market.
What do you mean by that?
We have a lot of people that were out of work. Their jobs weren't real secure. Mm-hmm. They went back to work after the pandemic because there was a high demand and need to make up for the past time missed. Well, now those businesses have laid off.
Yeah, there's
a lot of people.
There's a lot of layoffs.
And those layoffs are trickling down into our neighborhoods. I mean, the average house right now in Starkey Ranch is $600,000, $700,000. Who can afford these mortgages? Mm-mm. Who can afford $4,000 and $5,000 and $6,000 mortgages? And they're still buying. And we're here in Florida, and our median income is not very good.
It isn't? What is our median income?
Last I checked, it was like in the 60s.
Oh.
It's not, and if you don't have $100,000 individually, in my opinion, you're not living very comfortably anymore when the average rent is over $1,500.
Yeah, I mean that's because then you have utilities on top of that,
Yeah.
and then
you're all in about $2,100 for a 1-bedroom, 1-bathroom right here in Land O'Lakes.
And that's not even giving a lot of money to the landlord because between their insurances and their property
it's
taxes,
covering the mortgage.
Yeah.
In a lot of cases, it's only covering the mortgage. The townhouse that I just bought, if I wanted to rent out the entire thing, I would only break even. It would just pay for itself. And so I opted to rent the entire upstairs out. And still live in the house and rent the upstairs out and be in a different financial position, at least to get some equity up underneath this before the market starts to shift.
So people with the short memories, we're going to see 2, 3. It's rumored. And where do these rumors come from? Rumors that the rates are going to go down.
If the rates go down, we're going to have, statistically speaking, and even these charts kind of show it, January to May is the hot month. Those are the hot months in Florida. I have 20 years of experience in doing appraisals, and our computer systems tell us, get ready. January's coming. February is a crazy month. And
especially when the groundhog sees its shadow and gets 6 more months of winter.
Yeah, but we end up with the snowbirds longer. And the snowbirds are moving around again. They got rid of everything in the pandemic, and then they moved and resurfaced, and then when the interest rate started to go up, they jumped and purchased, but they purchased things that, it was harder to purchase then, and they didn't get what they wanted. Well, now, if the interest rate comes down, those are the ones you're going to see move.
And I still can't believe this. I mean, people are like, bouncing from house to house in like a 6-month, 2-year, 3-year period. I mean, like that's got to be murder. It's like goes against the mentality of get a house, stay in it forever,
Yeah.
pay off the mortgage, and then start to really build financial wealth.
And the moving companies, back in the day, there was one time where I paid $700 for movers. Today, that $700 is $2,500 to pay for movers to
Yeah,
move.
it's like $700 an hour.
Yeah. And so life is just very, very expensive. A jar of spaghetti sauce at good old National Grocery, Florida Best Grocery Store, $9. $8.94
Make your own.
for a jar of spaghetti sauce.
Make your own spaghetti sauce.
Life is very, very expensive.
It's very easy to make like a vodka cream sauce. You can slow roast your potatoes. Tomato paste is an excellent source of sweetness. You throw in some heavy whipping cream, add a little bit of vodka.
No kids? You have no kids to teach all this to.
None. The kids are my listening audience. Make sure you like, smash, and subscribe.
I wish the corgi had thumbs.
To Tampa Home Talk. Make sure you stick with us next year. Next week, we have an exciting show for you. We are going to dive deep into goal setting. We're going to have some coaches on this show. We're going to kick off 2024 late because you should technically do your goal setting at the beginning of December, which reminds me, I have to do my goal setting paperwork for my CEO mentor group. I forgot to do that. I'm starting to ramble. This is Leo Kane with Beryl Engineering and Inspection, joined with my sidekick for the hour,
Danielle Evans with Gateway Appraisal Services.
And if you need either of our services, reach out because we are working. No one else is. We'll catch you next week.
Happy New Year.